Hello, hello, welcome. And quite well, just recently on Netflix, they've been putting out quite a few good movies and a couple of series that I've been interested in watching. And one of the movies that I watched was a sequel that I did not expect. I mean, it has been 23 years since the first movie. It is called Chicken Run. Now, the movie that was just released is Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget. But 23 years ago, the movie Chicken Run, I remember that it was released, it was on video, and my sister-in-law, my brother had just gotten married at that time. She bought me this movie. I was in middle school at that time. And it was such a fun movie to watch. It's quite reminiscent of the type of movies where, it's World War II, and then you have the American prisoners in a German camp being held hostage and all of that, and they're trying to escape. Well, instead of American soldiers, you have chickens, and it's quite fun. I mean, I didn't realize it at the time, but stop motion or clay motion, however you want to call it, I really do enjoy that type of format or that type of movies. There's something very, really, it's hard to explain, but if I had to try my best, it's very much as it's kind of like when it's animated, where features and things can be exaggerated, movements that typically can't be done with live actors is done without needing to use a lot of computer animation, which, when at that time, 23 years ago, computer animation was kind of ramping up. It wasn't like there yet, like it is today. And it borders that line between what cannot be done in real life, but it looks very much real because it's using a physical material that you can see that actually exists, like with its own textures and colors. So the clay that they use is actually a special type of clay that only um, Art of Man Productions was using. And there's like a whole big topic about how they source those materials, like how they're running out of stock, but they still have enough for a few movies today. It's a whole thing. I'm not going to go into that. But my point is, it's I didn't realize at the time, but I do enjoy that type of those type of movies just because it really fits into imagination, and it also feels real. It's very hard to explain if you've never watched that type of movies, but it does have that like real life vibe to it, while at the same time it's animated and it is very much fun. But enough of that. Let's get straight to it. Now, when I talk about the the movie, right? When we talk about Chicken Run, like I said before, it's a film where the characters are inside this camp or this farm. It's a chicken farm after all. And where we are met is with this group of chickens. They're going through their routine life. I mean, they wake up, they feed, they lay eggs, the eggs are counted, and whoever is not up to speed in terms of egg production gets their heads chopped off. And, you know, the cycle repeats itself. Next day, chickens are feeding, they give eggs are counted. Whoever's not up to par with the rest head chop off, and it's for dinner. And it sounds very much, it does sound a bit uh, more, well, not morbid, but it's not like a very happy thing. But on the flip side, it does give this platform for fun things to happen. And what I mean is that Ginger is one of the chickens. And you can see she's the one with the green beanie or toque, however you want to call that, depending on where you are. And she's the one that is the mastermind. She plans how to escape. All the other chickens rely on her. And it's to the point where sometimes she can't even lay her own eggs because that's how into the planning she is. And so she tries to escape over and over again. She tries to dig her way out. She tries to, uh, stop the door from closing, or the gates, I should say, and then run off. She's always caught, and she always gets put into this like trash. Well, it looks like a trash bin, but it's very much a timeout type of situation where she's on solitary. Nobody talks to her, and the cycle repeats itself over and over and over. And during this whole time, again, life continues for the chickens, and they're already they are accepted to they accept their life, right? That they're going to live and they're going to die in the farm. Well, Ginger is not about to let that happen. So, like I said, well, she's getting caught and tries to escape, and she fails over and over and over again. The chickens are going through their lives. They feed, they die, they feed, they die, and so forth. Now, one day, they receive an unexpected visitor in the form of a rooster. Now, keep in mind, all these are chickens. There's only one other male rooster, I guess, or I never asked myself that if all chickens are female or if they can be like female and male, similar to cows. However, that's kind of off the point. The main point is that uh, Rocky, he is the rooster who flies over the fence and falls down, and all of a sudden, broken wing and everything. So they hide him, and while they hide him, he's like the newest thing, the newest toy for these chickens. And they do kind of realize that, hey, there's a poster with his face where he is flying out of a cannon. So he is doing the impossible. He's flying, something that they can't do. And so they start to pressure him, like, oh, teach us how to fly, teach us how to fly. Uh, we already know where this is going. Like, he doesn't really fly, but with his wing broken, he uses it as an excuse to say, oh, well, not yet, not yet. I have a broken wing. And so, not yet. All right. They wait, they're patient. And in the meantime, he tells them to do all these ridiculous things like, oh, do squats, or, you know, jump off of this thing, flap your wings, that type of thing. Well, it gets to the point where they get so frustrated that they haven't been able to fly, and he genuinely wants to pick them up. He wants them to actually feel better. What he ends up doing is that he has this dance party, and in that dance party, that's when his bandages fall off, and they realize that, hey, he's much better. Well, turns out that no, he really can't fly, as you could imagine. And so they're very disappointed. But they do come up with a new plan on how to get out of there. And that new plan is actually, well, yes, try to fly, but how else do you fly? Well, that's when they have to get creative. Now, in the meantime, it's not like the farmer and his wife. Now, here's the thing, the farmer is not like the main villain, he's just a sidekick to the villain. The main villain is his wife, Mrs. Tweedy. Now, Mrs. Tweedy, she is kind of that type of person that she wants to be rich. She wants to be that type of person that has it made without having to do much work. And she does work pretty hard, admittedly. Now, the thing about this whole situation that makes their escaping so essential that they do it as fast as they can is because Mrs. Tweedy bought a new machinery because she got a new idea. She's not making enough eggs to make a good profit, but she does have a lot of chickens. So if you're not selling eggs, you do have chickens. What can you sell? Well, that's when the new machinery comes into play because she buys a machine to make chicken pies. Now, and I kind of missed the opportunity to make the joke there. It's one of my favorite quotes from the movie. She says, "Oh, chickens go in, pies come out," and the farmer is kind of not there really, so he asks, "Ooh, what kind of pie?" "Apple pie." "Ooh, my favorite." And well, obviously it's not that, right? If you put a chicken, the pie that's coming out is a chicken pie. So it is a funny scene, but that I still remember to this day. And of course, I've watched that movie quite a few times. And that's what makes this very kind of it kind of like ramps up the process. They have to speed up their escape plans because if they don't, well, they'll all be turned into pies. What happens? Well, Ginger goes over and tries to sabotage the machine, which he does with the help of Rocky. So he kind of redeems himself a little. But not just that. I mean, they figure out how to escape, which is, well, if you want to fly, how do you fly? Of course, an airplane. So what do you do? Well, you make an airplane out of the huts and the different things that you have on hand. And if you're talking about horsepower, oh no, they don't need horsepower. They need 20 or 30 chicken power. Yeah, think about that. You never heard of chicken power. Anyways, so what ends up happening is that they do eventually escape, and Mrs. Tweedy, she tries to stop them, and she even hangs on to the plane. Again, it's not obviously it's not going to be like very realistic the whole thing, but yes, I mean she does hang on to a plane. They are able to get her off, and she falls down. Well, they fly off to the sunset to paradise. Now, the whole thing, I might have told this a little bit quickly, but essentially they do escape and they make it out. And they're all happily ever after the end. Of course, Rocky and Ginger were polar opposites. Rocky being very carefree, very relaxed, very he's on his own, so he doesn't have to worry about anyone. Ginger, the opposite, she's always planning, she always is thinking, she has this responsibility on her shoulders to protect the other chickens. That is, quite the opposite. And, after they found out that Rocky has been lying about being able to fly and everything, and it really is a misunderstanding. But again, it's one of those movies where the misunderstanding all of a sudden they go into not hate, but they dislike each other. From disliking each other, they began to care for one another. From caring, it begins to grow into something more. And so, of course, Ginger and Rocky do end up, well, they do end up seeing eye to eye, fighting for the same reasons, and they end up together in the end, despite having lied in the beginning. So that's kind of like the whole take. That's whole movie. As far as my thoughts on the movie, it's very fun. I mean, of course, you can talk about, depending on the type of person that you are, you could go into all the politics on chicken farms and like not eating meat and all that. I mean, that's really not part of what this video is about. It's more about the enjoyment because, again, it is very reminiscent of the types of movies where, they're in war and they're in a war camp and they have to escape. And they do follow like the similar tropes. You have the person who is funny, you have the person who is planning, even the part where they have to dig themselves out. It's all very, they have a lot of references that if you're old enough, you'll understand and you might have also seen. But when you're a kid, and remember, I was in middle school when this movie came out, it really is like you laugh with the chickens, you laugh at the things that they're doing. You live there's even one chicken who she's not quite there mentally. I mean, she's not that bright, but she's always knitting and she always comes up with the weirdest reactions at the weirdest times. So it's very much like the farmer, for example. You know how he said, "Ooh, what type of pies are we making?" When it's obvious that it's going to be a chicken pie. Like for her, it's like, "Oh, so what are we doing? Oh, we're going to escape. Oh my, that type of thing." And it does provide a lot of laughs. And there are a lot of opportunities for children and adults to kind of laugh and enjoy the film. It is one of those movies where rather than just being a kids' film, it is a family film. Enjoyment for the whole family, not just for the kids. Of course, I can't guarantee if you do put it on repeat, do it over and over again, that you'll enjoy it. But still, I mean that's how it is with children. Now, I'll be talking about the second part on the next video. But what I will say is that this movie really is still enjoyable. I mean, I rewatched it before watching the second one. It's still a laugh. It's still enjoyable. There's still things that, my inner child was enjoying a little too much. And there are things that, as an adult, I see and I kind of understand better what's going on. And it's still just as enjoyable. I mean, if you want to enjoy a family film, this is it. Now, that's all I have to say for now. Hopefully, this doesn't. Ooh, we're going almost on 20 minutes, so it might be a little bit too long, but you watch what you can. I just want to kind of like end this on a on a high note. Uh, with the holidays coming up and everything, it is especially important to kind of remember. Just remember, who your family is, and remember, not everybody gets to enjoy their family as you do. So when you're out and about, just always keep in mind, be kind to one another. You never know what the other person is going through. All right. Any comments or any criticisms, feel free to leave them in the comment section. All right. See you soon. Bye bye.